I finally got to watch the film Zone of Interest. It came on Max, I guess, so I finally got to stream it. Excellent, excellent movie. I know this guy, Jonathan Glazer, who wrote and directed it, made that stupid Oscar speech where he disavowed his Jewishness because he was comparing the Jews to the Nazis, which is, of course, a famous trope. The Nazis murdered Jews, and now they're going to claim that the Jews are the Nazis. But talent is blind. Talent is blind. It doesn't care. It even comes to people like me. I mean, that's how blind talent is. It doesn't care where it rests. It has rested on this guy. This is based on Martin Amis' novel. Martin Amis, an excellent writer. I really liked it. And it's based on the story of a real guy, Rudolf Hess, and his wife, Hedwig, who helped run the slaughter of 6 million Jews, the absolute stone-cold murder of women, babies, children, the technical gassing. This is what Hess did. And so the movie is about him. It's a very quiet, very restrained movie. It's a work of art. It really is a beautiful picture. Beautiful may not be the right word because it's so depressing. It'll suck all the joy out of your life for hours afterwards, so you might not, my wife wouldn't watch it. But Hess and his wife, Hedwig, who is played by Sandra Huller, who may be the greatest actress alive. She was also in Anatomy of a Fall. Anyway, they're running the death camp. You can see it over the walls of their house, but they're living in this beautiful house. We never go inside the death camp. We just live in this beautiful house with their children and the garden, and the fact that Mrs. Haas, Hedwig, is so happy to have all this wealth. And sometimes they give her stuff from the dead people. They steal their Jewish person's furs before they kill them, or some dresses, and she gets to give those to the servants. And so she's a woman from not a very high standing. Her mother was a cleaning lady, and so now she's really landed, she's made it, and she doesn't want to lose this perch outside of Auschwitz. And I'm watching this, and I have to tell you, I was a little bit convicted by it. It was about the fact that they are ignoring the greatest atrocity, one of the greatest atrocities in human history, because they're living their lives. They're making money. Everything's great. This is good. We live in this beautiful house. And yeah, you can sort of hear people screaming in the background, but so what? And it brought to mind the fact, I recently also rewatched Gone with the Wind. Great, great movie. One of the greatest movies in American history, maybe one of the top 5 movies in American history, and one of my favorites. And it's about the Civil War in the South. But, the movie is awash from the first frame with what's called the lost cause mythology, the idea that somehow there was something noble about the Confederacy, and it was a lost cause, and that's sad. And it starts with this very elegiac, kind of mournful, scroll where it says, this was the last time, the old South, this was the last time we ever saw that wonderful world of knights and their ladies fair, of masters and slaves. I thought, whoa, back up, back up. I like the knights and the ladies fair, but do we have to like the slaves? And it's just filled with this nonsense about the slaves are stupid and happy, but they're kind of basically happy as slaves. They're fine with it. And at one point, Ashley, Leslie Howard says, well, we treated our slaves well. It's not like exploiting workers. We treated our slaves well. Just total falsehood. But the funny thing about it is, by buying into the lie that this was not a grave evil, and it was a grave evil, even when it was, it was just as wrong then as it is now. I understand that people didn't know it was, maybe didn't register how wrong it was, but still, it was just as wrong then as it was now. That doesn't change. But by lying about it in the film, it actually has this weird thing where it gives you the feeling of what it was like to be there, because your civilization is being destroyed, right? And no matter what's happening in your civilization, if you live there and you're doing well and things are going well, whether you're, the people at Tara and Gone with the Wind, or the people outside of Auschwitz in Zone of Interest, that's what you're thinking about. You're thinking about your life, your kids, your salary and all this stuff. And I felt, I have to be honest with you, a bit of conviction, a bit of guilt about this, because we are living in this country where close to 1 million babies are being aborted every single year. And, we're not ignoring it. I speak up about it. I hope you speak up about it. But still, it's something that's going on all the time. And you do have to take care of your children. And, it's not the Holocaust. I understand that. It's different, but it is a Holocaust. And it is evil, and it is bad, and there's no way to excuse it. There's no way to get out. So on the same day, right after I went outside and watched the eclipse, and that was kind of fun, and then I read Pope Francis's declaration called Dignitas Infinita. And then right after that, I heard Trump's statement on abortion within minutes of one another. And my weird reaction to this is I thought the Pope was morally correct, but politically foolish. And I know I checked with Catholic people to find out what they were saying about the popes because they had problems with it, and that's fine. I'm not denying their problems with it. But his basic idea was that every human person possesses a dignity that is inalienably grounded in his being because he's made in the image of God, and that dignity prevails beyond every circumstance or situation. So if you're a baby and you don't yet have your full capacities, you're an unborn child, and you don't have your full capacities, you still have the right to life. That's one of the things he said. And then I listened to Donald Trump's statement on abortion. And with Trump, I agreed with Trump politically, but morally, it was inexcusable. So here's what Trump said. Let's play the clip from Trump.
My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state. Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart or, in many cases, your religion or your faith.
Well, so why do I say I agree? Let's start with this. Why do I say I agree with him politically? Because we're losing politically. Whenever we try to ban abortion or go too far trying to ban abortion, not only do we lose elections, but we lose the people. Their opinions are becoming more in favor of abortion. So let's say you're fighting, and this is a grave evil, we have to stop it, but let's say you're fighting a grave evil like the Nazis, you're in war with the Nazis. And I say, well, this is a grave evil, so I'm going to take my stick and charge at that tank. You say, no, you're going to have to wait years until you build up an army that can invade France. You're going to have to fight them in the beaches. You're going to have to fight them in the cities. You're going to have to fight them slow by slow. You're going to have to use strategy when you want to just charge. You're going to have to do what you do, and it's going to take time. That's the way I feel about this, right? Politically, we are not winning. We are losing. We have to change our strategy. And remember, politics is just one tool. It's one tool we have. Another tool is the culture. And what we have to do is create a culture that is conducive to people understand. You know, people always ask me why I won't call abortion murder. They think I'm dithering. I call it homicide, but I won't call it murder. It's the same reason I don't condemn George Washington for holding slaves. When the culture bathes you in this idea that you can't even see that you're doing evil, and the funny thing about George Washington, an absolute hero, a man of virtue, a man who loved liberty, he could not see that his slaves wanted to be free because he was bathed in that culture, right? And that's why, I'm not cutting him slack for what he was doing. I'm cutting him slack for his mindset. And to commit murder, for murder to be murder, you have to understand that you're committing murder, right? If I think I'm killing a dragon because I'm nuts and I kill some guy, that's not murder. You're actually not guilty by reason of insanity. And this is a kind of insanity that we're in. So it's homicide, but I call it murder because many of the people who are doing it are not bad people. They just are awash in this corrupt society, namely our society. Our society is no longer a moral and religious society. It is corrupt and it is doing this evil thing. So I think we have to change our political goal to convincing people, to making people see that this is something that has to go. In the meantime, though, Arizona, for instance, just restored an 1864 law that bans nearly all abortions. So now Republicans are in position, not wanting to lose elections, of trying to fight that decision. Now, the decision, people are saying they banned all abortions. No, they just said this law has not been repealed. So now you have this weird thing where Republicans who are supposed to be pro-life are fighting to get there to be abortion in Arizona because they don't want to be destroyed in the next election, as they may well be if that doesn't happen. The Alabama Supreme Court ruled that IVF was killing children. As you know, in IVF, you inseminate, you fertilize numerous eggs, and then the one that doesn't become a baby, they get frozen or they get thrown out. And so people are against that. You can do it with just one egg, but it's much more expensive. And so, Trump is saying we've got to restore that. We've got to restore your right to IVF. And so we have this weird thing where the people who are supposed to be leading the pro-life movement, who are supposed to be speaking up for pro-life, are speaking up for death. And that can't be our strategy. It has to be a different strategy where what we say is look, we think this is wrong. We understand we can't win this, and we understand that people want this. We're going to give you what you want, but please listen to why we're saying what we're saying. And we know the press is going to fight us every step of the way. We know they're going to lie about us. We know they're going to make us sick. But we have to at least speak up. And this is a failure on Trump's point. He's never able to do that. He only pretends, he doesn't, it's almost kind of lovable about him that he just wants to fix things. He's good at fixing things. And that's the way he looks at everything as a practical thing. But you do have to have some moral leadership as well. Now, this is a difficult time because we went down this road a long, long time. We went down the Roe v. Wade road a long, long time, and it corrupted an entire generation, maybe two. And the road up is just as long, but it's up, so it's steeper, and we're going to have to climb it step by step by step. It's going to be slow going, but we have to keep going, and we have to remember what we stand for and fight for what we stand for when we can, and do what we have to where we must. And I'm sorry, I know we like Trump. I want Trump to win, but this was not the way he should have put this forward. I think it's a survival thing. And I think it is important that he survives because he knows this is true. And he says this in his video. If he loses, we lose everything. These people are ready to just slaughter every baby in sight and mutilate the ones that survive. Long climb, upward climb, step by step. We got to do it. I love that guy. For more like that, like and subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show wherever you get your podcasts.